Alright, hi kids. Alright, so we're going to be going over some basic stuff using the UDK interface. So let's start that up. Start UDK editor. Alright, here we go. So as a refresher, we don't need this to start up. Oh great, my mouse is acting up. Sweet. Alright, so this is your content browser. This will be where you can look up a bunch of different materials, static meshes, which are going to be, you guys are going to be using to create the environments, and a bunch of different test assets that you can use for your game, sound cues, among other things. So we're going to close out of the content browser for a second, and we are going to give you a small taste of what it's like to move around. So if you remember from class, holding down right click and using WSA and D to move around like a first person shooter, you get around the map. It's lagging because of I'm recording this right now, so bear with me. So you can move around, and that's about it. Alright, so right click brings up this menu, which I'll go into tomorrow. But for right now, we're just going to go over the basics. So we're going to go to File, top, we're going to go to New Level, Blank Map. Alright, so this red box that you see right here is your brush box tool. And you can change it to a cylinder, staircase, cone, more staircase, that's more linear, just a blank sheet, and a spiral staircase. I think this is a tetrahedron, yeah, and then we got this weird thing. Alright, so we're going to start with just a basic cue. Now, you'll see these arrows around the brush, and these are your translation tools. So you can, if you left click and drag on one of the arrows, you can move them and translate them in different positions. Move them up, and left and right, back and forth. Alright, now let's say if you want to rotate it, you're going to press space bar, and it's going to bring up rotation option. And you can rotate it on degrees, as you can see on screen. Let's snap that to 90, alright, and then we're going to rotate that again to 90 by left clicking and dragging, just like you did on the translation tool. Alright, the next option that we have by pressing spacebar again is scale. So scale works in two different ways. So this part of scale with the brush is uniform. And what that means is that if you left click and drag on any of these, it's going to scale proportionately. So none of the sides are going to change based on if I grab the top one, if I grab the forward one, or if I grab the back one. To do the top and forward and back individually, you go up to your right under Preferences. There's a button. It's called Non-Uniform Scaling Mode. This will give you what essentially looks like the translation tool for left, right, up, down, and back and forth, but it's going to scale based on its axis. So on the Z axis, which is blue, we're going to shrink down so it's kind of flat. This brush will be kind of flat, and then if we do back and forth on the X, bring this out and make a long strip, and we'll even it out just a little bit on the Y by left clicking and dragging again, and that'll be good. And let's move around, see how big that is. Alright, so press spacebar again to get back to translation. And what we're going to do is we're going to create geometry. The way you create geometry is by CSG, which is essentially just creating geometry, solid geometry for a player to traverse on. They can walk on it, and they can collide with it and stuff like that. So we're gonna go to CSG add or press Control A. So I'll just left click on CSG, and there'll be geometry. And just for sake of hotkeys and remembering those, press Control Z to undo, and then Control Y is actually go forward. So it's redo. Just for clarification's sake. So we're Control Z to undo, Control Y to redo. Press Control Z one more time, and then I'll press Control A, which is the same as add the geometry. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to kind of build kind of like an arena. So we're going to left click and drag this brush, because this is still selected with the red, and we're going to drag it over a little bit more. Now, how do I know if these are kind of like lined up? This looks pretty solid, but how do I know? So we're going to go over to the top right to these two little window icon called Restore Viewport. So this Restore Viewport is going to bring up 4 windows. Well, collectively, it's going to bring up 3 more windows plus your perspective view. Now, this one up here is your side view. This is your front view. And this is your top view. So let's scroll down, and these are grids, so you can easily snap together placement. It actually looks pretty solid, so we're going to scroll and go back into this window right here, your perspective window, where you can move around in WASD and holding right click again, and we're going to press Control A, and this is the same as, remember, adding a brush, adding geometry. Now, let's say I want my player to kind of fall in a hole. You know why? It just is. We're going to press spacebar twice and go to scale. What we're going to do, we're going to go to back up to non-uniform scale, right under preferences, and we're going to kind of shrink this bottom. Now, you can see on all of my 4 screens that it is scaled to that. And we're going to bring this up a bit. Left click, we're going to bring this. It's going to scale properly. Now this is the side view, so you can see how thick this brush is now, and it's intersecting with our geometry that we have right here. This is selected in the blue. On a side note, geometry can only be selected. Say if you want to move this geometry, you can only move it in the viewport. So top, side, and front can only be selected in the viewport. In the main scene, you'll only select the faces, which are kind of highlighted. And you can see this right now. So you can see this is basic, and then there's this kind of blue highlight around it. And so each, you can see me selecting. Excuse me. You can see me selecting different sides of the geometry. So we're going to go back to the brush tool with the cube, and we're actually going to go in a little bit, and that should be fine. Yeah, it's not this direct scale, maybe a little bit smaller than that. And then to throw it up a little bit to teach you the other side, instead of adding geometry, we can subtract and cut a hole directly in the terrain itself, the geometry. So we're going to press CSG, subtract, or Control S. So there's a hole now. This is crazy, right? All right. So now a player can fall through, or we can add something else there. I don't know, maybe some water later. I'll show you how to do that later tomorrow. All right. So for memory's sake, Control Z, Control Y to redo, and then if maybe we want another couple of holes, and this platformer, and we want to make a map that has death pits or something, and we're going to press Control S again to subtract. Now we have 2 holes. All right. Now on one of the grids, you might have noticed that there is a yellow box. And this is kind kind of in the exact same spot as where you subtracted. That's because it is the subtraction volume, that area of where you subtracted. So it's stored in memory. If I was to, let's say, delete this, I don't think I can on a Mac. Let's see. I can delete if I cut this, and then let's see. All right, this is another quick tip. This button up here builds the geometry. So if you make edits to something and it's not showing up in the perspective mode, so I just deleted the subtraction volume, or like the subtraction brush, that yellow box, from the map. But the hole is still there. That's because the geometry needs to be rebuilt. So you're going to have to go to up top, there's a little box, it's kind of teal. You're going to go build geometry. It's going to bring up the stuff, and it's going to be inconvenient, it's going to be in your face. Then, there's only one now. So as soon as you delete that yellow brush that's in the map, it recreates the geometry where it once was. So we're going to go make another thing again. We're going to drag it over, and then we are going to press Control S, and that will subtract the geometry. This is a great tool if you want to make doors really quick. It's just like, if you don't want to use actual assets, you can gray block with this. It's a great tool. What we're going to do now is we are going to go back into full perspective mode, and we're going to WASD around, check out the plane. Alright, now the next thing I want you guys to know about is how to add lights and to add a player start. Alright, so we're going to go over that really quick, and that will be pretty much the only things you'll really need to know in terms of the user interface until tomorrow. So we're going to WASD around, look for a good spot to maybe make a start of something, and I don't know how big my jump height's going to be, so we're going to press spacebar a couple times, left click to drag over. Let's check the perspective view. Alright, you see this is my current brush. Alright, so this is the same size, and we're going to go to non-uniform scaling right under preferences, left click, and we're going to drag this direction, which is on the Y, and we're going to shrink that in and give myself a nice kind of ledge to traverse. And I think these gaps might be a little bit too big for my character to jump over, so we're going to press Control A to create geometry. Alright, Control Z again. Let's line that up so it's not sticking out of the actual ground that much. I'll line this up here because this is my side view, remember, and this is my front view, this is my side view, and this is my top view. So press Control A and drag that over a little bit. Press Control A, drag that over a bit, left click, drag A, drag A. Alright, so that's pretty much the basics of that. Now let's add some lighting. So what we're going to do is go into, okay, so a couple of you were complaining that the right click to move around also brings up this. If I were to right click, just basic, on any surface, on any of these faces, which is highlighted in blue, remember, it opens up this menu. And now what this is to really add in things from the content browser and to add things from the actual engine itself. So what we need to do is we're going to add an actor. Now what an actor is essentially anything within the content browser that is used to create the level. So an actor could be anything from a point light, which we'll need in a second, a player start, add an ambient sound, which is a background music that you can play at the start of the level or just when you load it. You can add a dominant directional light, which is going to be more, I'll discuss lighting later. A path node, which allows AI or NPC characters or enemies to move around in a certain path and in association to where these path nodes are, or you can use them to create checkpoints, and I'll teach how to do that. And add triggers. Triggers are events within Kismet, which is the scripting language that allows for an action to occur. So for example, if I was to add a trigger in a certain area, and I wanted, when I entered that area, like a radius within that trigger, and I wanted a door to close shut behind me as I entered through this doorway, I would lay that on the ground, add a trigger, and this little icon would appear. Now you can scale it with spacebar and translation and rotate it in different ways. I just screwed up something. I don't think you can actually rotate it, but so what we can do now is scale it so that the radius of entering it are these green bars, and that collision box, or not the collision box, it's actually just, oh yeah, it's a collision box. It's that red box around the green hexagon form. That is the radius of when you enter that area. So if my player was to enter from right here where my cursor is to pass this green line, that event, whatever it is attached to this trigger, would then trigger. It would create the event, and the door would slam shut. I hope it's clear. So we're going to cut this. Okay, so we're going to add a light to this map. We're going to add some dim lighting. So we're going to go to Add Actor by pressing right-click on any surface, Add Actor, add a point light. Now, Unreal Engine, unlike a lot of other engines, dynamically gives you the ability to render light, how it would look in scene, and like when you play the game. It's pretty nice, but it takes a lot of RAM up, and that's probably why my mouse is going crazy. Now, what you can do is you can click and drag this over by left click and pivot point, and you can change, not the rotation of this one, but what you can do is scale it up by pressing spacebar once again, and left click and drag back and forth with your mouse without letting go of left click, and you can increase the scale of how bright it is, how dark it is in certain areas. Another key tip to use is Alt. Holding down Alt while left clicking and dragging while an object is selected. So for instance, alright, so I want to select this light, but I want it to be lighter over here. And I don't want it to be just one light. Maybe I want a dim part in the middle and another bright over here. So we're going to move this back a little bit over here. And so we're going to select the light with left click. We're going to hold Alt on your keyboard at the same time while left clicking and dragging. This is going to duplicate the object. This duplication method is used for a bunch of different things. So let's go to this section of our viewports, and where is that in association to this? So this is our top view right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this part of the geometry. You'll see that in perspective mode that this is selected. It's also selected in here, and we're going to press Alt, and we're going to left click and drag over to create another piece of geometry. This will kind of be our starting point, and it's created. Now, now that the fact that you don't see it in here and you only see this outline is because the geometry has not been built in this perspective scene. It has been built in these perspectives, side, front, side, and top, but not in perspective. What you're going to need to do is go back up to Build Geometry. This message will occur. Ignore these errors that pop up right now. I'll show you how to fix those when I get in class tomorrow. And voila, there is the piece of geometry that you just copied. Now the reason why this piece of geometry does not have the cuts and holes as the other one did is because these are still volumes that are in the game that are set in those areas. And I just thought of something I was supposed to tell you. Anyways, all right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a player start to set a point where your character, can spawn at the beginning of a game. So we're going to right-click on any part of the geometry. We're going to add an actor. We're going to go to Add Player Start. This icon should appear. If it does not, then I have no idea what's going on with your computer. Anyways, we're going to rotate this so there is a direction. So what you can, if you can see it, there's like an arrow. It's kind of a weird. Let's top down it. It's like an arrow that points in that direction. That is the direction your player will spawn in. So if you want to face that way, that is the direction the player will face. Scoot that over just a bit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to build the lighting, because the lighting has not been built. I've been building the geometry, and only the geometry. What we need to do is build the lighting so it matches and shadows go places where they're supposed to. Before we do that, we're going to take the brush tool. Where is that? Located right here. There is a shortcut to finding it. I will bring that up tomorrow if this gets lost. And if you want to focus on something, this is a Mac. Not all the buttons are here. Anyways, moving on. So we're going to take this brush. That's not that big. So what we're going to do is create a light mass volume to make sure that light maps, which cause memory, they cause more memory to be used, because light is bouncing off of every surface. You are going to need a container. It's essentially imagine if you were to light an area, but you only wanted to light that area and not cause any memory anywhere else, or cause any excess memory. What we're going to do is encase the whole map in a giant light box. We're going to press spacebar. We're going to press spacebar again so we get to scale. We're going to go to non-uniform scale, and we're going to make this. We're going to left and drag. We're going to make that really wide. We're going to make this really tall. So the lights are located here. So we want the light mass volume that we're about to add to encompass the whole map. Now this is thin right here. So we're going to go back to scale. We're going to go to non-uniform scale, left click. We're going to left click and drag so it encompasses the whole map. Now what we're going to do, instead of going to a brush or anything else, what we're going to do is go to volumes. Add a volume. Now there's a bunch of different volumes that you can add. You can go to physics volume, you can go to portal volume, you can go to light mass, which is what thing we're going to be using. We can change the gravity. That's really fun. And we can add fluid surfaces, which means that you can add swimmable water, and you can add a ladder volume. Where is that? A ladder volume, where you can create non-visible ladders in certain sections. That's how a lot of first-person shooters do their. They'll put a ladder there as like a static thing, but what it'll really be is a volume that allows you to go up and down in first-person mode. So we're going to add a light mass importance volume. So we're going to left-click on that, and it's going to be there. But where is it? All right, so let's move our brush tool around. That same kind of yellow subtraction thing, we're going to find it. This is a brighter yellow, and this is our light mass volume. And this is going to contain the two lights that we haven't seen right here and right here in check, so it doesn't cause a lot of memory. So another thing, the thing I remembered I was going to tell you, is that to select multiple objects, you click on one, left click, and then you press Control, hold down Control, and then you click another object, and that's going to select two. And now I can move both of them any way I want. Alright, so let's leave the map like that for right now, and let's build the lighting. So to build the lighting, it's this button right here, right next to the Build Geometry tool up the top, right next to it, to the right, is Build Lighting. So I'm going to build the lighting. Just press OK. And it's going to take a while. Let's see how long these Macs take to do it. Allow access. I assume this will come up on the other computers. We're going to allow. This menu will pop up. This is just what's going on in your scene right now. As you can see, it's causing so many problems for my Mac right now because I'm running Lighting Build failed. See log for more information. Lighting that needs to be rebuilt. I've never encountered this, so we're going to try it again, except with a Build All tool. So this Build All tool creates geometry and lighting. It renders all of it. So let's see what happened to the Swarm agent, and I have no idea what's going on. So log, maintain local connection has closed. Remove action, closed or for job. These are technical terms that I do not understand. Awesome. Build static lighting. Fail to open scene channel with. Fail to import scene file. Alright, well, we're going to stop that. Hopefully this doesn't fail again. So what we're going to do right now, before I do all of this and before it might crash or anything, we're going to File at the top, left click, save as. We're going to save it in the content under Maps. This will be important for when we want to make executables. So we're going to save this as test interface, and we're just going to save it right there. It's going to save. It's going to be all good. Note that remember that Control S is not save, is subtract. So if my brush was over something and I was like Control S to save, it's not going to do that. It's going to subtract and create a subtraction volume brush. So let's try the Build All button again. Let's see if that works. This button is just pretty much the most useful button. Hey, there it worked. Awesome. That was actually kind of fast. Alright, so those errors that we were seeing before, or if you saw it before, were there because there wasn't a light mask volume. This is just a warning. It's an error, but it's because of the light mask. They don't want to create that amount of memory. Note here that they have a kill Z. A kill Z is a section where it's like if you fall below it, there's like a line, an unseen, invisible line. Well, it's actually visible. Let's see if we can find it. It's not on the scene. I don't think I can have it visible right now, but that's unimportant. I'll teach you that tomorrow. So we've built the geometry, we built the lighting. Now let's play our scene. We have a player start in there, right here, that we placed by right-clicking and going to add actor, and then going to player start. All right, now let's play our map. I'm going to go up to this, play the level, or what you can do is press F8. I'm not sure if it's going to work on a Mac. I don't think it will. Let's try really fast. I'm going to press F8. It does not work. Classic Mac. All right, we're going to go up here to this big play button. We're going to play the level. Ooh, okay, cool. WASDing it around. It's cool. It's got the same lighting I built, and I can jump and do all sorts of things. Now let's see if I can jump over this gap. Oh, I overstepped it. Oh god, I'm dead. Alright, we're going to press escape to exit out of this view. And that is pretty much the interface that I'm going to be teaching you. There's a bunch of other stuff that I can go over, but this is pretty much the rudimentary basics that we kind of discussed today that we'll go over, and this is just a refresher. So I'll see you in class tomorrow.